Hello, this is the 107th Test from the Future, an experimental podcast from the year 22-23, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast. We started a bit spontaneously. I still have the plate in my hand.
Oh, yeah, you can take that away now, I guess. How did you like the lasagna?
Yeah, that was really nice. And it was a really nice change from the spaghetti I've been having for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
How long's it been now that your Congo's been that way?
4 days. So, and I know it's 4 days ago I had my last breakfast yogurt. And then there was a new update on my Congo. So I installed it as the good citizen I am.
Yeah. Conscientious user of a Congo.
Yeah, always install the latest system updates, they say, but it's now had so many system updates. It is completely full.
With updates.
Exactly. So
it's not deleting them after it installs them.
No, I don't really know what's going on, but there was no more space for recipes, apparently. I mean, it's completely up to date, has all the latest virus checks and everything. Just no recipes anymore.
Okay, and it can only make spaghetti?
Yeah, just
but
plain...
So plain spaghetti, not like with any sauce or pesto?
Just basically the default setting. So
and spaghetti ice?
No. Oh. No, really. You cannot even change the temperature it has. It just comes out like one standard spaghetti.
That does sound like it might get repetitive and boring.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can influence is the amount. So I can say like more or less, but that's about it. I guess I was taking a bit of a gamble when buying a green cell Congo because they're mostly known for their tech. Yeah. And
so, do you need to buy a new one? Do you know, or is
I haven't. I've tried to get in touch with customer service,
right?
But I can't reach them.
Okay.
I'm thinking I'm not the only one.
Sure, no. So maybe this has been an issue where you download the updates, it installs them, but it's not actually deleting the installers, and so it's filling up all the space. And now it's not just your one that's affected, but many of them. Yes,
especially because there's push to all Congos. Yeah. Of course, everybody installs these updates, so it can just be. I'm not sure how many they sold, but if everybody suddenly can't eat anything other than spaghetti anymore, there is going to be a lot of people showing up there. And the Congos might not be that great, but the teleporters are. So I guess there's also been a whole bunch of people teleporting to the head office.
Yeah. Right, when they can't reach anyone on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, thanks for the lasagna. So it was a really nice change of...
I mean, it wasn't made with pasta sheets. It was made with spinach sheets. Yeah. So it was more fresh.
It was a nice touch.
Yeah. Otherwise, it would have been even more pasta.
Exactly. Although I would have settled for anything, even if it was like still half pasta. Sure. But today we're not talking about spaghetti.
Nope, not in any more detail.
We're talking about NFTs and PDRs.
Yep, or NFTs or Padres. An easier way of saying them.
So it rolls off the tongue easier, that's for sure.
Yep.
That's, of course, again, something from the 23rd century. Shall I explain PDRs? You do NFTs?
I was going to say the other way around, but we can do it that way. So NFTs are non-fungible tokens, and they're basically the ownership rights to something that happened, an event. It doesn't matter if it was a big one or a small one. And the idea is that those rights can be valued, and so because they have value, can be bought and can be sold and so on. And it's a bit abstract, but okay, everyone goes along with it, so that's why they have value. And
if once you, let's say once you get the hang of it, then you can NFT the hell out of everything.
You can, and when someone wants to pay you for those things, you can make some money.
What I like is that there's not so many rules. So there's something that just needs to have happened. But that's kind of it. So like the conversation we're having right now, we can make an NFT out of this.
Exactly. This could be nifted right now. I mean, Yeah. So we make a podcast out of it. We haven't been niftying anything so far.
No, but we could. It's like it depends on like the what's the saying again? The value is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
I can say poppy seeds. We can then isolate this bit, and we can say, hey, remember when Dirk said poppy seeds in the
exactly.
episode?
Someone can buy the rights to that.
Yeah.
And then with those rights, they can make ringtones out of that. They could make a hit #1 single out of that.
Or they can just
listen to it in the privacy of their own home over and over.
They don't even have to listen to it ever. They're the owner, and
they can prevent anyone else from listening to it.
They can.
They could enforce that our podcast that we'll send back in time, we have to chop out that little chunk of it. So if we sold the rights,
really?
This is why we probably shouldn't sell the rights for things like that, or meaning specifically shouldn't make nifties for things like that and then sell them off. If we make nifties, we should keep a hold of them, because otherwise, right, so we sell that, someone has it, and they can say, right, take out that bit of the show. We have either a blank or some static or whatever. If we did that with the whole show and piecemealed it out, we could have all these big gaps or even no show at all.
I thought they basically had the ownership of that thing, but that would still be out there. That they would still they officially own it and they can sell it along and sell it for more, but where it originally belonged is where it still is.
It does depend on the terms of whatever type of nifty you make. I mean, we'll mention some of the types in a bit maybe, but
there's true, yeah. There
the
are
most common types, at least, that kind where it's exclusive rights.
Fair enough. And of course, it's like, depending, you're right, there are many different variations of NFTs or nifties. I like it how you say it. What I like the part most where anything that kind of happened doesn't even have to have a sound. Anything that can
right. We're talking about sound because we make a podcast, but it does not have to be sound.
And then and this can be sold, but also like if there's more people involved, it also depends on your contribution. And because we're having a conversation, there's two of us.
Right.
If we would to sell me just saying poppy seeds, then you also get some of it because you were the receiver.
Right. Even if I don't say anything back, we both know I was here, so I get 20%, you get 80%.
Yeah, because you were an essential part of the conversation.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be really weird if you were just saying poppy seeds to yourself in a room by yourself. So it's very different when you have someone listening.
I could still do that.
You could.
But in this particular case, I was actually talking to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can also say some more poppy seeds in the room next door, then it will just be for me to say.
Yeah. Just make sure not to saturate the market with poppy seeds, and then they become worthless.
True. I'm going to make a note of it. Like once we're on the recording, I'm going to say a bunch of more poppy seeds, not to you, so just in case.
Okay.
No hard feelings.
No, that's okay. The one where I was involved too, that will be like a unique one-off, like the special edition, because there'll only be one of that. And all the other ones, like I say, it depends how many you make, but there'll be more of those. So they'll have less collectible value, at least, if not intrinsic value. And
it will also have more value because you were there, It also adds a little bit more to the poppy seeds.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. But I think that should be enough to explain to the listener what the whole concept is.
Yeah. But then should we give them some examples, perhaps, like really famous ones? Or
Sure. Can I mention my favorite one?
Please do.
You already know the one. It's the President Tekle Haymanot from Eritrea. The one where she's drinking her cup of coffee while watching the sun rise. And that's after a rainy night, so the sunrise looks beautiful.
Oh, right, through the haze.
And it wasn't staged, apparently. I don't know.
Okay.
Apparently this happened. You can actually, you can still watch it through the cams, so you can still go back to that
exactly.
moment. And that was basically, I think she was like before her official day started, got up, had a coffee, this got recorded, and somehow this went viral. And I think it's also, it's one of the more famous examples, also one of the more expensive ones by now, because it's been sold a few times.
Sure, yeah. And actually, that's a good point. You just mentioned the cams there, so I was saying how if we were to sell NFTs from our show, we'd need to, those chunks couldn't go back in time. There would be gaps. The cams are exempt from that because they have an actual recording of history. So whatever else you do, past cannot be removed from that recording.
Yeah, I can. I wouldn't even know how to.
No, I mean, it's not possible. The way it's structured and implemented, it's not even possible to do. But even if it was possible, it would not be allowed.
Mm-hmm. You have any famous examples that you...
Well, famous is maybe really weird, really strange. So the trade in silences.
Ah, yeah.
So, we're sticking with the audio theme, for us it would be some clip of one of us saying something maybe, but this is the trade in silences between words or between, things.
It's what all of these things, I'm not sure if they are a joke or if they started as a joke or if I'm just not understanding them properly, but in this particular case, I thought this was a little bit ridiculous for a while. But now I've kind of started to like it because if you own a silence, there's like a context to this. So let's say a silence between two famous people or two people you liked or whatever that are sitting in a room next to each other, briefly not talking, and this particular moment, that's that silence, that those couple of seconds of silence between these people, that you have the ownership.
Sure.
To this.
Yeah. And there could be all kinds of reasons for the silence between people in a conversation. Moment of
contemplation.
Exactly, contemplation. There could be tension if it's like an argument or something. And then there's this is a very different type of silence. Someone's final silence.
Oh.
So their last silence before they die. And by definition, there's only one of those in an entire person's lifetime. So I'm saying a person, but also, the final silence of something. So also the final silence of a building before it's demolished.
I bet there are some NFTs like this, where
Definitely.
like you have the final silence of some famous.
Yep.
Or not famous. I'm talking about famous people. They don't have to be famous too.
No. So it is the thing, like you mentioned earlier, where the value is in the eye of the beholder. Okay. And there's collecting involved, which also affects the prices.
And of course, like things go up in value usually, right? So you own something that has a particular kind of value, even if you're not selling it. It just kind of like the value grows along with.
I mean, it's not like a one-way thing that it must always go up in value. It depends on many things, yeah. But so sure, for a while at least, things tend to appreciate.
But if you use it to buy an apple, you look at the apple for months. At one point, it's not such a great apple anymore, so you can't resell it. This is of course different. It will always like that. Like a moment can't really deteriorate. Like President Tekla Mohammed not drinking her coffee. That's always going to be exactly how it was at the time.
Right.
It's not like at one point she's going to get up and leave or not drink coffee or have milk with it or so like that. That happened. That's how it was.
Sure. And although actually I think this leads into the next thing where that would be the case except for PDRs, except for Padres, where basically, that's the next step, yeah? Shall I? So you wanted to say about that? Yeah?
Okay. PDRs, privately deductible recyclables. Essentially, this means recycled valuables or currencies or currencies. So I think that's summarizing it the easiest. Basically, meaning if a certain currency is not needed anymore, to recycle it instead of destruct it. So this is to avoid too many new currencies, too many new NFTs, and so on.
Cluttering up the place.
Exactly. This is not good for economy. So if some sort of currency or valuable is no longer needed, to at least recycle it.
Yeah. But then the reason to recycle it is to take it out of circulation. So that's what we were just saying a moment ago. And I was thinking specifically, there's a whole lot of silences in the world, and at some point maybe there were too many NFTs of them, and that would be a reason perhaps for some of them to be turned into PDRs.
Yeah, I can imagine. I know the ants, like every single ant, you could have the ownership of a single ant, and then an ant that ever existed, because they don't tend to live very long. And then at one point it was like a massive overkill of ant NFTs. And then they merged that to just one PDR that basically is ants.
Yeah, ANTZ. Yeah,
exactly. And this basically, you have the ownership of ants. Every ant there ever was.
All ants.
Every ant there ever be. One PDR.
Yeah.
I think we're explaining things really properly.
I agree.
What I really like, because essentially things don't really, like the value doesn't change if they become PDRs. But this, of course, like you were saying, it's to avoid cluttering things up. So it's actually cleaning up the digital atmosphere. So you can deduct them from your taxes.
Yeah, exactly. It's seen as a benefit to society.
Yep, exactly. And I agree, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's just, of course, if you have to, once you fill out your tax forms and so on, I'm happy that I don't have to list all my NFTs, and PDRs are, by definition, less of them. So it's easier to list all the PDRs that you have.
Sure, and you can always just include a link to the place which lists them, or you don't actually have to write them in every time.
True. Fair enough. I'm saying now, true, fair enough. I'm going to remember that next time.
Yeah, it saves some time.
I have to know two things to remember. First, go in the next room, say poppy seeds a few times,
Yeah.
and then check when filing my taxes next time.
Yeah.
Okay. I think PDRs, they're younger than...
Sure, yeah, they're much more recent. They, for the longest time, it was like, yeah, whatever. They don't take up any physical space. Let's just make all the NFTs we like. And more recently, it was, okay, it is actually taking the mickey a little. Let's tidy up a bit.
It turns out that they've been, I think the technology is around for a very long time. The initial PDRs even used blockchain technology, so it's really old stuff.
Super ancient.
But they were more like academic experiments, and as in this is possible, we have no use for it, let's put it on the shelf. And then only, let's say, a few decades ago, kind of started to take hold. Hey, remember that thing that we want to skim up with that nobody really needed? It's about time we took it off the shelf.
Yeah. And right, blockchain, NFTs. We didn't mention so far, but this does also include, though to a much lesser extent, physical currencies.
True.
It's much less of a deal because, those haven't existed for hundreds of years now anyway, but occasionally one will be found.
Yeah.
And more recently, found is the wrong word exactly. So a long time ago, there was this one coin, for Sponsianus.
Yeah,
Sponsianus. We had a guest a while ago. This one coin that was for the longest time, the only evidence that he had even been around as as an emperor or as some kind of important figure. And recently, that was recycled. Yes, and in general, generally that makes sense. Of course, you have a bunch of old coins or notes. They used to have, used to have it at notes, like pieces of paper and plastic. Yeah,
and then so you get a bunch of those. You can have them changed into PDR, so no problem.
Yeah,
but
it seems a bit mean to have done it to the one single Sponsianus coin that ever that it remained.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there is some.
Yeah, and it's also very recent because we interviewed Sponsianus, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Yep. Sure, he's making a bit more of a name for himself in the world, and maybe that's what led to the movement to recycle.
And there are still pictures of this, but I haven't actually asked him, but I can imagine him being a little bit upset about it.
Possibly. He didn't seem so attached to the idea of having coins, but even, at least I can, so for myself, if there was this one coin that had my face on from 2,000 years ago, I'd be like, you don't have to recycle that. How about you either give it to me or put it in a museum or something, but it's gone now. Yeah,
okay. Well, we've managed to bring the guy back. Maybe we can bring the coin back.
It's possible. Yeah.
Do you have any interesting NFTs or PDRs you want to share?
So I don't have any anymore, but I did have some that got a long time ago now. When I had turned 18 years old, my parents gave me some. I did keep a hold of them for the longest time. They were for the way that rocks smell in the summer sun.
Wow.
The summer sun,
okay.
Mind, not like the autumn sun. Anyway. And I kept them for the longest time, and I really couldn't work out what to do with them. After 60, 70 years, I just sold them on.
Okay.
I got some nice bit of money for them, so there was a collector. They had already, the smell of how rocks smell in the autumn sun, winter sun, spring sun. So, it completed their collection. They were happy. And sure, I hadn't really made much use of them.
And with a collection like that, I can imagine then this also kind of maybe ups the value if you have all 4.
Yeah, I can imagine so. But I wasn't going to buy the other 3 from them, so.
And I can also imagine that you could change it to a PDRs, like the way the rocks smell, period.
Once you've got all 4.
Yeah. You know what I used to have?
What did you used to have? So you don't have, so I was going to say, do you have any more? No, you used to have. What did you used to have?
I used to have all the koala birds in the Frankfurt Zoo from 2014.
Okay, so just 9 years ago, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. It's not so long ago. And I got them at a flea market.
Oh, okay, like that. No, I guess not the same year. The same year, or when did you?
No. Yeah, but not too soon after, because I don't have them anymore.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I got them at the flea market, and I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
They weren't so expensive, but these were all the koala birds in the Frankfurt Zoo in that particular year.
Yeah.
But it was more like an impulse buy. When you see something like that, it's funny. I want to get it. But I can't remember when this was. But then I sold them at one point when I was hungry.
And so, did you make money on them? Lose money on them?
I think I lost money on them.
Okay. Do you remember the meal? So, when you were hungry, so
yeah, it was.
Was it a good meal, or really it was just like a snack?
Yeah, it was like a bun with mustard and ketchup.
Okay, that's at least for me. That isn't such a nice snack. But you were hungry, so
yeah, I was hungry. I guess, but I guess I just have to be a little bit more careful about my eating patterns. Well, but I still have some. I have some smaller NFTs laying around, some random ones. I have a famous from Candice. For the listeners, that she's a famous pipe racer. And there was this one interview after the race where interviewer asked her for a first reaction. She didn't know what to say. She just said, and I have that one.
I see.
Pretty proud of that.
Yeah. Okay, but then that's it.
Yeah, I have some more
stuff like that, but even more minor.
More minor stuff. So shall we try something to tokenize something from the podcast?
I mean, I mentioned the downsides before, but if we think of something and we license it in such a way that we don't have to go in and chop stuff out, yeah, we could.
Or we can license or outtakes.
Indeed, they're not included anyway.
Yeah, I mispronounce things occasionally, right? So
sure.
I say interest instead of interesting.
Yeah, or we say really disturbing, horrific things, and we go, maybe that's too disturbing and horrific. Chop it out. And
then we chop it out, but we still have that then left over.
And we didn't send it back in time, so we even do still have it.
We can. So I'll make a note.
We should look back or listen back through those.
I'll make a note of it after saying poppy seeds a bunch of times.
Yep.
And checking up my text forms, also to check out some of the good outtakes that we can turn into NFTs.
Sounds like a good idea.
So while we're on the topic of, let's say, financial abbreviations, like we've just picked these two.
NFTs and Padres,
Also because I at least personally understand them the most.
Yeah.
Should we
have this list here of other ones that we don't even understand? And I understand we have them on the list, but we don't really have anything to say about them. But you just want to say them because they sound funny.
Yes,
some of them do sound funny.
Okay, at least I know. I know BREF and SNUC.
Yep.
Because they sound nice.
Sure.
And especially if we
at SNUC, I've always been saying SNUC. Okay.
Oh,
SNUC.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Could be. I mean, it's SNUC are the letters.
Okay. Okay.
But these are all big capital letters. So I'm assuming that for our listeners, these are all big capital letters. I'm assuming they're is it abbreviations or acronyms? But the thing where each letter stands for something. And
I want to mention SNUC because it was originally NUC, and then they added the S. Because NUC became SNUC.
Okay.
Because first it was native interspersed course, and then it became supplemental. So that's the only one I know what it stands for.
Okay, but not what it means. Okay, I mean each individual word I can follow, but
yeah, exactly. But what it actually sometimes I think they just make it up to make money, or just to have something to speak about, or maybe there's just a few people who even understand what they're talking about, and everybody else just kind of runs along.
Sure.
I had that with TREX, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Wait, again? Okay, so I was always saying that in my head, TREX. But anyway, TREX, TREX, yeah.
See, it's like the listeners can understand how common these things are. Like, we don't even know how to pronounce them properly, or at least
the kind of things you see them going along on the bottom of your lens, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
With various numbers next to them, which I never pay attention to.
Going up or down. That's true, actually. Yeah, I've seen SNUC pass by there a few times. That's true.
Yeah, SNUC on by, yeah.
Nice.
It's that quality. That quality part of the show.
Yes, exactly. So that you can feel that we're getting to the end of it.
So we've got a listener question here.
Let's do the listener
I'm going to leave behind those letters. So NASA asks, if you can teleport to specific attractions in theme parks, then don't you circumvent the entrance and essentially not pay for a ticket? Nope, that would be very wrong. We also don't have tickets.
Yeah. Exactly. So we have subscriptions. So you have a subscription to either one theme park or a category of theme parks, or all theme parks in a certain location or whatever.
Right.
All kinds of different subscriptions. And once you have a subscription, you're just free, cleared to go in and out as you please.
Yeah, and the inverse, if you don't have a subscription, you cannot teleport into a theme park or whatever business requires a subscription.
Yeah, exactly. And then, for example, you want to get into Gotham City, you don't have a subscription. You either buy like a one-day subscription or a monthly subscription. Like, although Gotham City doesn't offer day subscriptions, I think.
No. It's the thing where all subscriptions are ongoing with no, meaning unlimited, and it's up to you to cancel it.
Exactly. And it's also some of these things are, you have a subscription, but you don't really go, but you don't really want to cancel it, you know?
Yeah, maybe early on you have goodwill towards whatever the place is. Like if it's a zoo, you're like, hey, I like maintaining a subscription, even if I don't go so often, that the animals can be looked after.
Yeah. And sometimes it's also like you get a subscription to, let's say, Disneyland. And it's like, I've been meaning to go more often, but I just can't get around to it. But, it's like you still want to, so you don't cancel.
Yeah.
But
okay, but specifically, if you teleport, you can teleport there, yeah?
Yeah.
And okay, NASA was asking about circumventing the entrance, not paying, but I guess another part of that is queues, like for rides and things like that.
Yeah, okay, like that's a trick you need to know. If you want to avoid queues, you have to avoid going to theme parks at the last day of the month.
Right, because then there were then there were all the queues.
Yes.
Because people want to cancel their subscription. And they figure, hey, I'll go one last time before I do. And that invariably ends up being the last day of the month.
Exactly. It's like, okay, my subscription is running out. Or maybe like you get like, you've got like a test subscription, like first month for free and stuff like that. So it's usually at the end of the month, it's like, if you're a regular visitor to theme parks, then you know to avoid that last day.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. We started with vague financial abbreviation and we finished with theme parks. I'm in a good mood now.
It's a good progression, a better progression.
Totally. All right.
I think we're all good, all done. Folk listening to this show in the past, please send an email to us to let us know that you listened to it, that we successfully sent it back. Send that email to microlasagna5@gmail.com and put the number 107 in the subject. And when you have any questions, you can ask those too.
And then fingers crossed that this 107th test also reaches the past, like the 106 before it. Well,
there's some number before it.
Yeah, exactly. A bunch before it.
Thanks.
Fingers
crossed.
Oh yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks for listening and see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.